Okay, the National Security Council. What is the National Security Council? It used to be, before Obama became president, a group of people who would advise the president on national security matters, mostly foreign policy. Obama changed it. It used to be about 70 people, and Obama boosted it up to 400, 400, and he secured funding for it from Congress. You got to know by now that nothing happens without being funded by Congress. So why did Obama need 400 people for that? And he called it the National Security Council. They were actually Obama's loyalists who were embedded everywhere in the admin in key positions to carry out Obama's orders, entirely unrelated to national security. Or you can flip it to the other side. Everything is national security. All right, so it depends on the point of view. But Congress agreed. They funded it. And what Obama did is that, let's say, at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, he appointed a person there, and the person would tell the guys, the experts at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the bureaucrats, to what the unemployment rate would be, not what it actually was, but what it would be, because it's national security. Now, information is national security, right? The same thing for the agency which produces inflation figures. Inflation would not be what it would be calculated. It would be what Obama would want it to be. All right, so that's for every agency. The entire, all statistics and all information were filtered through the SNC. Now, good or bad, it's all different story, because everything is national security now. So what happens? Hillary loses to Trump for 300,000 voters. I think it was 170,000 voters. And then Trump does exactly the same thing. Right? The inflation data, employment data, GDP data, everything was filtered through Trump's national security. And Trump would decide what inflation would be. Trump would decide what unemployment figure would be. Trump would decide what GDP growth would be, just like Obama before. And that was for Trump won. The same thing was carried over to Biden. And so we can see that all these kind of data, they are all imaginary fantasy. Now, Obama's data, Trump's data, Biden's data, they're all imaginary fantasy. We know that already. There has been no growth in the United States of America since 2015. Inflation is through the roof, entirely out of control. And that started with Obama's out of control inflation, carried over to Trump's out of control inflation, carried over to Biden's out of control inflation, carried over to Trump's now out of control inflation. So what's happening? Now they're cutting it down. And they started, Steve Bannon started the narrative as if they're cutting down the deep state. Actually, no. SNC is a tool of the president. It is the tool against the deep state. Right? So, two things have happened. Either Congress threatened to defund it, or as Bannon says, which is the second option, the second scenario, they cannot find any loyalists to fill out these positions any longer because no one wants to work for Trump. This is self-evident. No one wants to work for Trump because he's mentally unstable. Or both. Congress wants to defund that, and they cannot find any people. So you cut it down because you don't control it, and then you pretend as if you're fighting the deep state when it was actually your tool against the deep state. So this is in a nutshell. So what's happening is that the power of the presidency, which was expanded a lot during Obama's admin, now is being diluted. Trump's power is being diluted by these actions that Marco Rubio, is implementing. That's all I had to say. That's all it is about. You have a good night.